Welcome to the CAASN channel. Our topic for today is how to boost your immune system against coronavirus infection. My name is Abazar Habibinia. I have an MD degree and I'm the director of the Canadian Academy of Sport Nutrition. Subscribe to the CAASN channel on YouTube to enjoy the information that we share on a regular basis about medicine, weight loss, fitness, and sport nutrition. Okay, today I'm going to show you how you can boost your immune system against coronavirus infection. This coronavirus infection that has started from China, has spread globally, has definitely freaked out many people around the world. And I have been asked to talk about this virus infection and actually how we can boost our immune system to protect ourselves. Our topic for today is going to have 4 small parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about what coronavirus is and what are the symptoms. And in part 2, I'm going to show you how your immune system defends you against any viral infections, including coronavirus. And in part 3, I'm going to give you general guidance and precautions that you could do to basically reduce the risk of getting infected with this virus. And finally, we're going to end up with showing you how you can boost your immune system. Okay, let's go with part 1 of what coronavirus is and what are the symptoms. Actually, coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that can cause a wide range of illnesses, especially upper respiratory tracts in mammals and birds. Coronaviruses in human, I'm going to put in here, can cause definitely common cold. I'm going to put in here common cold. I mean, the virus for common cold, one of them definitely is from coronavirus family. And then SARS, we had this one a few years ago. SARS stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. A few years ago, we had the outbreak of SARS, which killed, tens of people around the globe. And then we have over there another one, it's called MERS. MERS stands for Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. My point is the virus responsible for MERS and SARS and common cold are from coronaviruses family. And now we have here, I'm going to put in here the infection that has started from China, and the virus basically has been named novel coronaviruses. It is interesting to know that coronaviruses are zoonotic. That means they can be transmitted between animals and actually humans. It is interesting to know that the coronavirus was responsible for SARS, came from, I'm going to put in here, civet cats. Civet cats are wild animals native to South Asia and Africa, not the regular cat you keep at home as a pet, no. And the coronavirus that was responsible for Middle East Respiratory Syndrome actually came from camels. Camels, okay? Now, the viruses that had started spreading from China, they have 2 potential sources. They are not sure yet, but definitely in the upcoming days and weeks, they're going to be able to figure it out what was the origin. They have 2 potential sources, either bats or snakes. Well, we will see, right? We will see soon. Definitely scientists are working on it and they're going to figure it out. The viruses that have started spreading from China, it's come from bats, snakes, maybe some other animals. We will see. The incubation period for coronavirus infection, I'm going to put in here, is 2 to usually 12 days. That means if you get exposed to someone with coronavirus infection and you get the virus inside your body, you're gonna develop symptoms anywhere between 2 to 12 days later. We call them incubation period. So if you're exposed to someone and you were worried that the person might have coronavirus infection, and if after 2 weeks you didn't develop any symptoms, that means you have not gotten that infection. But let's see what are the symptoms. Usually coronavirus infection, like other common cold, they're gonna start with usually fever. I'm gonna put in here usually fever, headache, and cough, dry cough usually are the first symptoms they may appear in someone. Then later on the person might develop, I'm gonna put in here sore throat and nasal congestion. I'm gonna put in here nasal congestion. The person might have even, stuffy nose or runny nose, and malaise. Malaise, that means, well, they feel very, very weak. Then the disease is gonna progress to shortness of breath. I'm gonna put in here shortness of breath. Well, that means the disease has involved the lungs. And some of those people with coronavirus infection, at the end, they might develop basically pneumonia. When someone develops pneumonia, then the disease is going to become very dangerous. And unfortunately, I'm going to put in here 0.5 to 2% of people with coronavirus infection, they might develop I'm going to put in here superimposed, we call them in medicine superimposed pneumonia. That means the person had pneumonia because of the viral infection. Then in up to 2% of people, they're going to have another pneumonia which is bacterial. So we're going to have superimposed pneumonia or secondary bacterial pneumonia, which will be added on top of the pneumonia from virus. Then the disease becomes very dangerous to control. Now you know what coronavirus is and what are the symptoms. Let me show you how your immune system actually defends you against any viral infections, including this coronavirus. Your immune system is very fascinating, interesting, and very complex at the same time. You see, I have put on the board already for you, your immune system basically has 5 major components: thymus gland, lymphatic system, spleen, probiotics, and white blood cells. These are the 5 major components of your immune system. But usually when we have any bacterial infections or viral infections, all of them, they get involved, but usually it is the white blood cells, they're gonna come to fight viral infection or bacterial infection first. Usually we have 5 to 6 different types of white blood cells in the body. Anytime you go to see your family doctor, I don't know, for regular checkup, you can see these strange names in your blood work. I've listed already in here for you. Neutrophils, they make 62% of white blood cells in your body average. Lymphocytes are 30%, monocytes 5.3%, eosinophils are 2.3%, basophils 0.3%, and 0.1% we call them others, such as plasma cells. Okay, but let's see if you had exposure to any virus or bacteria and you have the offending agent in your body, how your immune system is gonna basically protect you. I put in here already for you lines of defense. It is interesting that your immune system basically is going to have different layers of defense system against bacterial infection, viral infection, or any kind of inflammation. I'm gonna put in here number 1. The first line of defense against any viral, bacterial infection is, I'm gonna put in here, tissue macrophages. Okay? Macrophages are a kind of white blood cells. Then you may ask yourself, well, macrophages, how come they are not in the list in here? Because macrophages are end stage product of monocytes. Monocytes are white blood cells in the blood circulation, but definitely when monocytes, they leave the blood and basically they go into different tissues in the brain, in the liver, in the heart, in the lung, then we're gonna name them macrophages. So macrophages are a sort of transformed monocytes that they locate in tissues. Within few minutes of any viral infection or bacterial infection, tissue macrophages that they are already in the affected area, they're gonna start doing their job. Their job is something in medicine, I'm gonna put in here, we call it phagocytosis. This is a medical term. That means they're gonna eat up the offending agent. So you can see that the first line of defense is tissue macrophages, that they are already in the area. Their function is very important to save someone's life. Then your immune system is gonna develop the second line of defense. Here is the second line of defense. Neutrophil invasion. Okay, see, these white blood cells or neutrophils that they are basically circulating in the blood, they're gonna rush to the affected area to help macrophages. Usually neutrophil invasion starts in 1 hour or so. Then while neutrophils and tissue macrophages, they are fighting the infection, then comes third line of defense. Third line of defense is, I'm gonna put in here, these monocyte, I'm gonna put in here monocyte invasions. While tissue macrophages and neutrophils in the area, they are fighting with the infections, more monocytes from the blood circulation, they're gonna rush to the area to convert to tissue macrophages to eat up the offending basically agent. Doesn't matter, it's virus or bacteria. While those white blood cells, they're fighting infection in your body, then we have here fourth line of defense. Fourth line of defense is this. Your bone marrow is going to increase the production of white blood cells. So I'm going to put in here, fourth line of defense is increased production of different white blood cells by bone marrow. Okay? Usually for the bone marrow, it takes 3 to 4 days to generate, to produce more white blood cells. And also it is interesting to know that your bone marrow can increase the production of white blood cells 20 to 50 times more than normal, depends how serious the situation is. So now you know the 5 major components of your immune system and the four lines of defense basically against any viral infection. First, tissue macrophages, what they're going to start in a few minutes. Then we have all the neutrophil invasions, and then third line of defense is monocyte invasions. Monocyte are the white blood cells that they're going to rush to the area to transform to macrophages to fight the infection. And then finally, fourth line of defense, which is bone marrow is going to come into play to produce more white blood cells. Now you know how your immune system functions to protect you against any viral, bacterial infections or in general any inflammations. Let's go to part 3, general precautions to reduce the risk of coronavirus infection. Here are 5 general precautions that basically you could take to decrease the risk of any viral infections, including coronavirus infection. These 5 general precautions comes from World Health Organization, and I have put them on the board already for you. Number 1 is this: clean and wash your hands with water and basically soap or any alcohol based solutions. And number 2, cover your nose and mouth when coughing and sneezing. You could do this using a mask, a tissue, and even your elbow. Number 3, avoid close contact with anyone with cold or flu-like symptoms. Number 4, cook meats and eggs thoroughly. Avoid having undercooked any meats and eggs. And number 5, avoid unprotected contact with live, wild, and farm animals such as chickens, birds, even pigs. As I said, these 5 general precautions come from World Health Organization. Now let's go to the last part: how we can boost your immune system against any viral infection. A few minutes ago, I showed you the 4 lines of defense by your immune system against any viral infections, including coronavirus. I have put them on the board already for you one more time. The first line of defense is tissue macrophages. The second line of defense is a neutrophil invasion. The third line of defense is monocyte invasion. And the fourth line of defense is increased production of white blood cells by the bone marrow. Right now I'm going to show you how, by following the rule of 10, you can boost the function of every single line of defense by your immune system. Let's see what are those 10 important things that you could do and you should do. Okay, number 1 is rest. Definitely this is a must for any sick people. Number 2, you can have lots of warm liquids. Okay, those are the basically 2 general guidance, for any sick people. To boost the function of tissue macrophages, remember tissue macrophages, they do the first line of defense. Remember, those white blood cells, tissue macrophages, neutrophil, monocytes, or other white blood cells, they are live, basically organs, and they need nutrients to function better. It is interesting to know that tissue macrophages, they need 2 important nutrients to fight infection. The most important nutrient required by tissue macrophages is vitamin D. Probably vitamin D is the most important nutrient in general for immune system. So tissue macrophages, they need lots of vitamin D to do better job to fight viral infections, including coronavirus. And in here, we're gonna need a little bit higher dose of vitamin D, and you can go with somewhere around 10,000 IU a day. And if you are traveling to those areas that basically they have been affected with those coronavirus infection, what I suggest is this: if it's possible, you could go with vitamin D injections. Vitamin injections come in different forms: 300,000 IU, 400,000, and even 600,000 IU. Imagine you are traveling to China. Now, well, you can have one vitamin D shots, then you don't have to take 10,000 IU a day. And if you don't have access to vitamin D injections, definitely you can load up on your vitamin D in pill form or in the form of drops, 10,000 IU a day. The second important nutrient that tissue macrophages they need to fight infection is zinc. Definitely you have to provide enough zinc to your body to help tissue macrophages. Zinc, you're gonna need about 50 to 100 milligrams a day. Now let's go to the second line of defense. How are we gonna boost the function of neutrophils? Because neutrophils are the one basically are responsible for the second line of defense. To boost the function of neutrophils, you need to do three important things. I'm going to put in here. One of the most important things you could do to boost the function of neutrophil is this: avoid sugars. Okay? Remember, sugars and sweets, any refined carbohydrates, they lower the function of neutrophils. Remember, neutrophils, they make 62% of your white blood cells. So if you are having lots of sugars and sweets, I'm afraid you're gonna weaken the neutrophils. By avoiding any sugars and sweets, definitely you are giving a big boost to neutrophils to function better. Again, neutrophils, to fight infection, they need a unique nutrient, and I'm sure you have heard about it: vitamin C. Yes, vitamin C can boost the function of neutrophil to fight any inflammation, any viral infection, any bacterial infection. Okay, so in here, you're gonna need vitamin C a little bit higher doses. I'm gonna put in here, you need 3,000 milligrams a day. You need another nutrient to boost the function of a neutrophil. Actually, the nutrient I'm gonna put in here is flavonoid. Okay, flavonoids, they are phytonutrients. Basically, they are nutrients that they are extracted from plants. Flavonoids, they enhance the function of vitamin C, and vitamin C is going to enhance the function of neutrophils. So if you are going to take vitamin C for any viral infection or bacterial infection, definitely we suggest you mix it with flavonoids. And flavonoids, you can take anywhere over 200 milligrams a day. Now, how are we going to boost the function of monocyte invasion? You remember from the beginning of this basically topic that monocytes are basically, they go to the infected area, they transform to tissue macrophages. So to boost the function of monocyte, definitely you need vitamin D, which is already there. Okay, now how are we going to boost the function of bone marrow to produce more white blood cells? Remember, increased production of white blood cells by your bone marrow is the fourth line of defense. Your bone marrow is gonna need actually three key nutrients to produce more white blood cells. What are those three nutrients? Vitamin A. Yes, your bone marrow is gonna need lots of vitamin A during those times that you are sick to produce more white blood cells, and you can take vitamin A anywhere between 10,000 to 20,000 IU per day. The second nutrient that the bone marrow is gonna need to produce more white blood cell is vitamin E. You can go definitely with 800 IU a day, and you need another nutrient, to support the body, to support the bone marrow to produce more white blood cell, is vitamin B6. And you can go vitamin B6 with 100,000 milligrams a day. The doses that I suggested in here, they are for adults, and for children, the doses definitely they have to be adjusted. Now you know how you can boost your immune system, how you can boost every single line of defense mechanism of your immune system against any viral infection. I really hope that you learned something interesting today, because we make science easy to understand. Now you know. If you don't want to miss our videos that we post on a regular basis on CAASN channel, you can subscribe to the CAASN channel on YouTube. To support us, you can share, like, or comment on this video. Until next time, stay safe, stay connected.